I have ice cream. Like I got more snacks. That's not the only thing here. I got ice cream. I do have Kit Kat behind it too, and the Starburst and stuff like that. Like cranberry juice and yeah.
I'll probably just grab some chips
Some
and
chips.
a water.
Apartment is Maria Palomina, who has just been found deceased inside of her home. Now, the apartment maintenance man is the person that is calling in. He is currently present with the apartment manager, and the two of them have been made aware of a potential situation by Miss Palomina's downstairs neighbor, 24-year-old Eva Mondre. Now, according to Eva, she, along with two teenage boys that had spent the night at her apartment, had just been awakened to a lot of commotion. Eva heard screaming. She opened her door, realized that they were coming from the downstairs unit, and called out to the older lady asking if she was okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I just fell and hit my head. That is the response she gets. But Eva notices that this voice does not sound like the older lady that lives downstairs that she is familiar with. So she goes down the steps a little bit. She sees that the screen door of this lady's apartment has been torn off, but Eva does not have a phone to call police herself. So she goes to the leasing office, informs the manager and the maintenance team. When they make their way back to the apartment, Daniel Truesdale, which is the maintenance guy, he jumps over the patio, opens up the front door to allow the apartment manager to come in, and Miss Palomina is there lying lifeless on her living room floor. There's a shattered vase laying next to her that appears to have been used to hit her over the head. While Daniel is on the phone with 911, the manager checks for a pulse and there isn't one. While this is happening, 15-year-old Jennifer Jeffley, along with Eva Mondragon, enter Miss Palomina's apartment, and they make it in about 5 feet. They're able to stand there just long enough to scope out the scene before the apartment manager asks them to step back outside. Like, bro, have some respect. And child, here is where things get sticky. Now, I mentioned that the night before, two teenage boys had spent the night at Eva's apartment. Jennifer spent the night there as well. One of the teen boys is Jennifer's boyfriend, and the other teenage boy is his brother. They were there at Eva's just hanging out, and the following morning, when the boys and Eva are awakened to the screams, Jennifer is not inside of the apartment. It wasn't until Eva went out to get help that Jennifer returns to Eva's apartment. Now, according to Jennifer, once maintenance makes the call to 911 and they're waiting on the police to arrive, Eva pulls him to the side and tells her, look, when the police get here, say that we have all been together this entire time. She does not go into detail about why, but she does tell Jennifer that this is serious, like our lives depend on it. We need to all say the same thing, that we will all hear the entire time together. And Jennifer just says, okay. Now, as for where she really was, earlier that morning, around 8:30, she had gotten a page. Now, mind you, this was the late 90s, girl. People didn't just have cell phones in their pockets, okay? Now, while everybody is still asleep, her pager goes off, and it is a family friend named Craig Peters. And Craig wants her to call him ASAP. And because Eva does not have a working phone, she goes to a different neighbor, Jane Dorsey's apartment, within the same complex, to use her phone. When she calls Greg, he doesn't answer, so she sends him a page, and she just sits and talks with Jane for a little bit. It takes about 30 minutes before Craig Peters calls back. The two of them have a brief conversation, mostly regarding some family drama going on. Jennifer and her sister Kim, who was about 18 months older than her, they've really been bumping heads with their mother lately. Y'all know what teen girls get. The girls, they're interested in boys now. They want to hang out. And according to the mother, this was not the problem that she had. The problem that she had was the girls did not want to go to school. They had been skipping school to the point where the mom had been threatened with truancy charges. So she confronted them and let them know, like, look, y'all can do what y'all want to do on your extracurricular time, but on academic time, y'all need to be at school. So in the 2 days prior to the murder happening, the girls had gotten into it with their mom, Jackie, and they had left her apartment to go to Eva's apartment, which was in the same complex, but the mom had no idea where they were. She thought they had just run away. The day prior to the murder, though, Jennifer's sister realized she was not about their runaway life, and she had returned home and had gone to school that morning, but Jennifer was still at Eva's. And Craig Peters comes into play because they didn't have a whole lot of friends that were fairly new to Houston. So the mom figured if that was anywhere that they did have to run away to, it is probably the family friend, Craig Peters, but when she calls Craig, he has not seen nor heard from Jennifer. So the mom had asked, if you do hear from them, please let me know. was why he had sent the page to Jennifer. And after speaking with Craig a little bit to tell, I guess, her side of the story, Jennifer walks back to Eva's apartment and, of course, sees that there is something going on. And when questioned by police, she regurgitates exactly what Eva had told her to say, which was that they were all together the entire morning. Granted, Eva is her girl and they hang out, and that's her little friend. Eva is 24, so Jennifer sees her as the adult in the situation. She doesn't question anything she's being told. The police also get statements from everyone else there, Eva, the maintenance man, the apartment manager, and then they go on to conduct their investigation. And simultaneously, something else very interesting is going on. While Jennifer is standing outside talking with the police, her aunt is leaving her apartment and sees her. So the aunt calls Jackie and is like, hey, I think something is going on inside of the apartment complex. The police are in the front, and I also saw Jennifer standing outside talking to them. Now, instead of going to where Jennifer and the police were, Jackie, her mom, she goes to the local police station and reports Jennifer as a runaway, asks that a squad car be sent around there to pick her up because she knows exactly where she is. And the desk officer that she's talking to is like, you know where she is? Her mother is like, yeah, she explains. And he tells her, well, if you know where she is, she's not a runaway. Just go get your kid. It's basically a waste of our time and resources if you know exactly where your child is, but you want us to send a car around there to get her instead of you pulling up and getting her. And the mom is like, bro, that don't even sound right. But before she could argue, Jennifer walks into the police station with officers, and they walk right past her. She tells the desk officer, like, that was my kid right there. Police got to the scene around 9 a.m. to investigate, and this is about 2 in the afternoon. He tells her to wait right there. He's gonna go find out why her daughter has been brought down to the station, and he'll give her an answer, but he is in no rush to do so, taking his sweet little time. The mama said she was sitting there waiting for what felt like forever. She had to go back and check in again with him and say, hey, like you said, you were gonna let me know what's going on with my kid, but you haven't. So finally he goes to find out and comes back and tells her that her daughter has been a witness to something and is just answering a few questions. She asks if she can go up there, unaware that she could have made demands, considering that her daughter is a minor, but the officer tells her that that is not necessary because they're just about done. They're wrapping up now. So the mama sits, she waits, about 30 minutes goes by, still her daughter has not come out. When she asks again, she is again told that everything is fine, just wait down here, your daughter will be brought out any minute. And once she is finally brought out to her mom on the ride home, Jackie is asking questions like, bro, what were you doing back there? Like, what's going on? And Jennifer is being very vague. She basically says that her friend Eva's downstairs neighbor was now dead and she was given a witness statement. Her mom was like, so you saw it? Like, you were a witness to things? You know what happened to the lady? And Jennifer's like, no, I don't know what happened. I didn't see anything. I just told them what Eva told me to say. And her mom basically tells her, like, you shouldn't have done that, especially in a situation this serious. Just regurgitate information that somebody else gave you. You don't say anything if you don't know anything. Jackie takes Jennifer back to their apartment. Meanwhile, detectives continue to investigate the crime scene. Miss Palomina's apartment had been completely ransacked. She had been stabbed with a knife from her very own kitchen. The one used was missing from the apartment. There are drawers pulled out in the kitchen, and there's like plastic covering them as if someone had used the plastic to keep their fingerprints from being left behind. There are 2 purses out in the open that have been emptied, and there is blood in several locations of the apartment. So whoever had done this had a clear motivation, which was robbery. Obviously, they were in there searching for valuables and money. Now, Eva Mondragon had also been brought down to the station to give her statement at the same time that Jennifer was. But Eva spends a lot more time down to the station. She is still there far beyond the time that Jennifer had left with her mom. But once she makes it back home, Jennifer, the boyfriend, and the brother, they all go back to Eva's apartment to sit with her and visit for a while and just talk about how crazy the day was. But they don't spend the night. Jennifer goes home to her apartment where she belongs. Her grandmother is in town, so she sits up chatting with her well into the night. She is talking to her grandmother about all of the things that have transpired, how crazy the day was, probably telling her that it typically wasn't this wild. And they're basically just waiting to hear what the police's findings are and what happened to the lady. It was a crazy day before this kind of gets to the family stuff. And that's all they're concerned with. But the following day, police arrive back at the Green Arbor Apartments, and this time they go around to Jennifer's apartment to speak with Jennifer some more. And they don't want to speak with Jennifer at the apartment. They want her to come down to the station. Jennifer's mother is at work, and so her mother is like, okay, well, of course that's not a problem, but can I come along with you? Because they're putting Jennifer in the back of a squad car. But Detective Roy Swainson tells her, no, she cannot ride along because there is no room for her in the car. So the grandmother is like, fine. Can I trail you in my car? They said that's fine. She goes to grab her keys, and the officer bolts. Okay, he leaves the apartment with 15-year-old Jennifer in the back of his squad car before grandma can come back outside with her keys. She has no idea at this point where her granddaughter is being taken to, none of the things. Now, mind you, this is back in '96, before the internet became what it is today. People didn't have GPS right at their fingertips and access to all of the information via Google. So grandma don't know which way to go. And mind you, she is visiting from out of town, so she is not even familiar with Houston like that. And Houston is huge, child. It's real huge and ghetto here. I love it. Hang on. Jennifer's mother does not have a landline at the apartment. She could not afford one. None of them have cell phones. So in addition to not knowing where they had taken Jennifer, they're not even able to contact her mother to let her know what's going on. She didn't even find out that her daughter had been hauled off in a squad car until she returns home from work later on that afternoon. And by that point, they have been interrogating Jennifer in regard to Miss Palomina's murder for hours. Now, let me give you a little bit more backstory on Jennifer and her family. Like I said, they were very new to Houston. Jennifer had grown up in a much smaller town on the east side of Texas. But 2 years prior, in 1994, her oldest brother, who had just gotten admitted into college, had been killed. And as if that is not tragic enough, Jackie, Jennifer's mother, is struggling financially. Months later, in June, she lands a new job and things are starting to look up for her. But she suffers another blow when in July, the next month, her youngest son is diagnosed with cancer. Now, luckily for her, her new job does have insurance. She is able to get her son the treatment that he needs, and this treatment plan is working. They get to the point where it appears that all of his cancer has gone away. Fall comes around, he wants to play sports, but his mother is like, no, I can't have you getting hurt. And rightfully so, I think I would have been the same way. So he is not allowed to join any of the sports teams, but while playing football with the neighborhood children, he gets hit in the stomach really hard. And as if triggered by this injury, his cancer returns, and it is a lot more aggressive. Jackie, having been told that Houston has one of the best cancer centers in the country, she relocates her family here. But unfortunately, after doing literally everything in her power, in December of 1994, her baby boy loses his battle and passes away. So within a year's time, she has lost both of her sons. And now, unfortunately, her girls are not giving her the easiest time. Now, Jennifer said that moving to Houston was kind of a culture shock because Houston was a lot faster paced than the smallest town that they had come from and all of the things that she was used to. Now, Jackie said she thought she moved into a nice neighborhood, but according to Jennifer, which two things can be true at once, child, the kids were into some things. It is considered to be cool if you're a little rough around the edges. But Jennifer was very much a square with smooth edges. But she wants to look cool, she wants to fit in, and so she plays the part. She said prior to moving to Houston, she had never even seen people smoking weed. She had never been around people who had participated in any of the things. But she pretends that she has, and that she had not chosen the thug lifestyle, and that the thug life had, in fact, chosen her. She had gotten herself a little boyfriend. She started hanging out with Eva and stopped going to school. Just had done a complete 180. So mom gets home, she finds out that her daughter has been hauled down to the station for questioning. She finds out which one calls and is told there's no need to come to the station. That Jennifer is not in any trouble, they're done talking with her just about, and they'll have her home in about 30 minutes. Jackie waits 30 minutes, no daughter, she calls back. This time she speaks with Detective Swainson. He tells her that, oh, Jennifer is just giving us a modified version of her original statement, so we're making some changes to it, but we're just about done. She'll be home soon. We'll be leaving the station pretty much any minute now. Again, Jackie says, okay, hangs up the phone. And let me tell you something about Sharon Vaughn. And I'm not shooting at the mama, but I'm just going to tell you a little story about Sharon Vaughn. When I tell you, Sharon Vaughn would have ran her little finger across them yellow pages, found the address. Right, the mama had the address because she was there the day before. But child, my mama would have been down there. My mama showed up at my job when I was 19. Long story short, my supervisor at the time was a bitch. And he had triggered mother to have an anxiety attack. Now, the girls I worked with, they had learned about Sharon Vaughn from a previous situation. They knew about this lady. And somebody got her on the line, called her phone, girl. Actually, they had me talk to her to try to get me to, calm down and breathe a little bit. And she told me she was coming to get me. Y'all, when they called back there and said she was out front, my supervisor would not even walk me to the door. He had another supervisor walk me to the door because he was a little scared, and rightfully so. When we got outside, if you live in this Technicolor was where I was working on Holmes Road. At the front door, the entrance is concrete steps that go down, and it's the parking lot. Sharon Vaughn had pulled her car up to the first concrete step.
Aaliyah Robinson. How you know my name?
Had on some leggings, Old Navy flip-flops, and a coat. She was sitting on the hood of the car. And my stepdad in the passenger seat. That lady's so unhinged, y'all. There's so many Sharon stories I can tell y'all. But I just
Aaliyah Robinson. How you know?
Shade to her, how she
At the store. Which store you saw me at?
My own mother is. But let's get back to this story and get into these statements that Jennifer is giving police. In the first, 15-year-old Jennifer tells detectives that she has spent the night
Thank you.
to a page going to call them back.
These AirPods.
Unfolded. She described the crime scene as she had observed it from standing in the
Where you saw me at?
couple of minutes before being asked to go back outside. And when asked if she had touched anything, she says no, she hadn't. And to that, the detectives tell her that it can't be true because they have her DNA on several items in the crime scene. And she is like, well, I don't understand how that can be true. Like, I didn't touch anything. And they're like, well, you must have.
Walmart. Which Walmart? Why you ain't say nothing?
Accusing you of anything? We just need your help to find out.
Which Walmart?
So they are telling her that they have her DNA on Mrs. Palomina's purse. Specifically, they've been going through. They're not accepting her answer.
Watch out, that person stalking me. Probably they is stalking me. Aaliyah Robinson probably is stalking me. Don't be stalking me now, that's weird.
Press her for an explanation.
I'm not in Palm Beach.
4 hours straight, firing off very
It was the wrong.
questions at this
I'm not in Palm
girl.
Beach.
They are presenting different scenarios.
That ain't my
where
name.
She could have touched something and finally get her to agree that she had innocently moved a piece of the broken.
I'm not in
plant
Palm
pot
Beach, so
away
you couldn't have
from
saw me
Miss
in Palm
Palomina's
Beach.
neck, and that's how her fingerprints had gotten on this piece of broken pottery that they have. And then she had only moved it so she could check the lady's pulse. And as for her fingerprints being on the woman's purse, they get her to agree she had seen someone like kick it or make it fall at the crime scene, and she simply picked it up and put it on the dining table. Now, none of these statements regarding her touching all of these things is stated in Eva Mondragon's statement, Daniel Truesdale's statement, nor is it in the apartment manager's statements. None of them mention her going around picking up things, moving things, or checking for a pulse. These detectives continue to fire off different scenarios, like weaving Jennifer into the fold. And finally, after hours of this, tired because she had been up late with her mom, hungry and desperate to go home because she has heard Detective Swainson telling her mom that they're almost done, she'll be home any minute. Meanwhile, they're telling her, you're free to go home as soon as you give the right statement. All of this having transpired, Jennifer tailors her fourth oral statement to what they have been suggesting and accusing her of, which was being present at the crime scene and touching stuff. This fourth oral statement that she gives, as she is saying it, it is being typed up by either Detective Swainson or Detective Allen. One of the detectives is typing up what she says. And they're very pleased with this typed version of it. But instead of calling her mother for her to go home or taking the young girl home, Detective Allen has the required juvenile warning read to Jennifer, which is like the minor equivalent to her Miranda rights. Right after this, Jackie makes another call down to the station and talks to Detective Swainson. He still does not inform her of the true nature of her daughter's visit at the station or what's currently going on. He does not allow her to speak to her daughter. He instead tells her that she is in good hands, that's his quote, and that everything is fine. And again, that her daughter will be home soon. Jennifer is presented with this document that she is told is exactly her words typed up. They tell her that, she just has to sign it, this will be over. She has just heard Detective Swainson say she's about to come home shortly, so she's ready to get this over. She signs it, believing that afterwards she will be taken home. And unfortunately for her, this statement is actually a confession of her not only being present at the time of the murder, but being a part of the plan, which was to rob Miss Palomina, steal her car, and names 2 other men, one of which had killed the woman. Immediately after signing, she has read her Miranda rights, and at close to 1 a.m., after being at the station with them for 9 hours, Jennifer is finally allowed to speak with her mother on the phone, still not understanding the magnitude of the situation. Her mother is still not made aware either. And after speaking with her mother, Detective Allen gets on the phone and finally informs Jackie that her daughter actually would not be returning home and she had just been charged with capital murder. Blue, please. The very next day after Jennifer's arrest, Eva Mondragon puts in her notice to vacate and break her lease. She very quickly vacates her apartment. She takes basically just, it looks like the clothes on her back and the shoes on her feet because a lot of her things had to be cleared out of the apartment. Now let's get into Eva's statement to police. When asked how she knew Jennifer, Eva told police that she came to know Eva through her mother and that Jennifer and her mother had an addiction of crack cocaine. She had allowed the teen to spend the night at her apartment because she had just been kicked out. And later on that evening, she finds out that Jennifer had invited her boyfriend and his brother to her apartment, which she had complained to Jennifer about because she said she didn't want all of these people hanging out, making a bunch of noise. She had already been warned about all of the noise coming from her unit by the apartment manager, and she didn't want any more issues, but she had allowed the boys to stay. She said that Jennifer and her boyfriend took the bedroom while she and his brother slept in the living room. Also, according to her statement, that morning she had first waken up at 7:44 to a page from a friend named Tommy. And she had looked over and noticed that the brother was still asleep in the chair. But because Eva did not have a phone, she couldn't answer the page, so she just closed her eyes and tried to go back to sleep. Minutes later, she was awakened by Jennifer, who had gotten a page and told her that she was going to return the phone call and she would be back. Eva said she assumed that the boyfriend was still in the bedroom asleep, but she didn't see him. She just saw Jennifer go out the front door. She dozes off, and then she hears a woman screaming for help. Now, she said initially, you hear things in your sleep, and you're not sure if it's like reality or not, but then she hears the screams again. And then Jennifer's boyfriend comes running down the hall, asking her if she heard that. She then goes out the front door, halfway down the stairs, followed by the 2 boys. The brother is now also awake. He sees the scream door, rings the alarm. Now, in this first statement, she says that the voice that responds to her was, quote, deep and raggedy. That it was a man's voice, and it sounded like a black man trying to mimic the voice of an older lady, which made her run for help. Eva's statement then says that while she's running for help, she sees somebody walking like in the direction of her apartment building that could have possibly been Jennifer, but she is unsure because she was distracted. And after she returned from alerting the office, she saw Jennifer standing outside of Miss Palomina's apartment. And at that point, Jennifer told her that she had jumped over the patio, had gone in, the lady looked dead, and there was blood all over the place. And Jennifer says that she checked for a pulse, and there was none. At that point, she looked down at Jennifer's hand and noticed a cut. She said she could tell it was a fresh cut, but it wasn't bleeding. And when she asked Jennifer about the cut, Jennifer said that she had accidentally done it while checking on the lady because she moved a piece of a broken vase that was near her. Now, this is all according to the statement Eva gave the night before Jennifer was arrested. The boys had left at the mention of police. As soon as they heard that the police was coming, somebody was killed, they had got out of there. Okay, they skedaddled on that day. but police have wrangled them up too and brought them in for a statement as well. Their statements only can include details of that night before, up until the point where Eva had run off for help. Their statements are the exact same as each other's and are very similar to Eva's, except for a few minor details, or not so minor details. The boyfriend said he awakened first. He looks down on the floor and sees his brother waking up as well. The boyfriend said he stepped over his brother and went down the hallway toward the living room. His brother got up and followed him. So now we have Eva saying she was asleep in the living room and one of the brothers was as well. They both woke up at the same time to the screams and then went out. Well, then we have the two brothers' statements who say that they were asleep in the back room. Somebody lied. And even Jennifer has mentioned their sleeping arrangements, putting the brother in the bedroom on the floor. So why would Eva say the brother was in the living room if he wasn't? One could argue that maybe Jennifer, her boyfriend, and his brother are on the same accord. They're like, hey, let's just put us all in this bedroom. But that would be a weird detail for them to make up because all four of their stories were statements, places, all of them inside of Eva's apartment at the start of the screaming, subsequently giving each of them an alibi. It wouldn't matter which room he slept in. The only one that would benefit from that lie would be Eva. This is just one of many contradictions between these different statements. Another contradiction is the boyfriend states that he first was awakened by the sound of the door in Eva's apartment closing, followed by the screams. And when they made it down the hallway, she was already awake and up. But per Eva's statement, she heard faint screams. She thought she was dreaming. And it wasn't until the boys came down the hall asking her if she had heard what they heard. And it's another something that just doesn't make sense for them to have lied about because whether they woke her up or she was already up and moving like they claim, they're coming from the back room. Their alibi is established. But Eva, however, will benefit from a lie because them hearing the door close and they come down the hall and she's already up sounds a lot more suspicious than, yes, we woke up together hearing screams. You follow me? One more contradiction that I want to point out is that Eva said she went to get help for a screaming woman, right? But in the statements given by the maintenance man and the office manager, they both quote her as saying that someone needed to come because there is a dead woman inside of the apartment below her. Not that there was a woman screaming, an elderly lady needing help, not crazy in trouble, come quick. She specifically stated that there was a dead woman. And then her statement says that while the apartment manager and the man were checking it out, Jennifer had pulled her to the side, trying to tell her what to say. And Jennifer had asked Eva to say that they were all together and never separated, not the other way around. It says that she does not know why Jennifer wanted her to lie, and she had overheard Jennifer lying to police, putting herself at Eva's apartment, hearing the screams with everybody else, and said that it was her who had actually sent Eva.
No,
to go
the girl,
get
she,
help.
in the fight, she got on the other girl's shoulders and just was like, woo! And then, because this is Jocelyn's Cabaret, her first song of the season was, I Wanna Ride, I Wanna Ride.
So she was like, I want to ride on.
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
I'm dead. That's funny.
that's tragic. I'd leave. It's time to go.
Imagine you fighting and somebody hop on.
It's time to go. She just did a whole music video on my shoulders.
As
As
I'm
she's,
fighting.
as she's pulling my hair and punching me in the face. Like,
Yeah, I would agree. It's time for me to go.
I'm done.
She had been too afraid to sleep in her apartment, and then she had been thinking about everything.
You want edges
No.
And the more she thought about it, she
don't know how to maintain them.
Specifically, the fact that
I like to roll out my bed.
she heard responding to her, it wasn't deep like a man's. Upon more reflection, she's realized that the voice sounded like a female's, not a male's. And she now believes that voice to have been Jennifer's. Mind you, this is her third time speaking with police about that morning. First, at the scene, at around 9 a.m., she said, and she was so sure that this was a man's voice, deep and raggedy. The second time was her statement at the station later on that day. Again, a male's voice, deep and raggedy. But now that she's thought about it some more, it was a female's voice, and she believes it was Jennifer's. Going to trial, the prosecutors are relying heavily on Eva's testimony as their star witness. They also rely heavily on this typed up, signed confession. Jennifer's mother cannot afford an attorney, so she has appointed a public defender who visits her just one time before her trial date. She had tried reaching out to the lawyer, calling several times. The lawyer would not answer, would not return her calls. She had been told from other inmates, like, if you call your lawyer direct, no, what is it? Collect, then they have to answer by law, but even that didn't work. When her mother had attempted to contact her lawyer on her behalf, the lawyer told her that yes, her daughter is a minor, but she's being tried as an adult. So by law, she doesn't have to talk to the mama about the daughter's case. If she was being tried as a juvenile in juvenile court, then yes. Now about 6 months after Miss Palomina's death and Eva suddenly moving out, the maintenance team goes into the unit, they're painting it, getting it prepared for the next resident. One of the men pulls out the refrigerator to paint back there, and he sees a small black wallet tucked into the coils on the back of the refrigerator. He takes the wallet out, sets it on the counter, continues his job, goes about his day. Now, Daniel Truesdale, who is also, of course, part of the maintenance team, he goes in to inspect. He sees the wallet on the counter, opens it up, and sees that this wallet belonged to Miss Palomina. Daniel takes the wallet to Kendall Cobb, who is a Houston police officer who moonlights as security for the apartment complex. Hands it over to him, lets him know, like, this is the wallet of the lady we found dead 6 months ago. Now, Officer Cobb takes possession of it, puts it in a grocery bag, and tosses it in the back seat of his personal vehicle, forgets about it for months. Like, doesn't enter it into evidence, it's just rolling around his backseat of the car. After spending months in his car, he finally takes it to the station and enters it into evidence to be a part of Jennifer's trial. Jennifer is in jail about a year before her trial date begins. She's only spoken to her lawyer once in that time. Eva, being the prosecution star witness, she comes in, gives all of the details of her most recent statement, except for the part where she says the voice sounds like Jennifer's. She doesn't mention that in court. In court, she simply says that it did not sound like her neighbor. When asked about her relationship with her downstairs neighbor, Eva says Miss Palomina was sweet and they spoke often. Everything was always pleasant between them. But in reality, Miss Palomina had been the one complaining about the noise coming from her unit upstairs. She had also been complaining to the office about traffic coming in and out of Eva's apartment at all times of the day and night. She had actually just made her most recent complaint the day before she was murdered. Now, Eva works at 2 strip clubs, so child, her business hours, they vary. Her schedule is ever changing. She also young. Her apartment is a hangout spot. She's lit, okay? And now all of these things have her on thin ice with the leasing office. There are also other details said in court differently from her statement. Like, in court, she said Jennifer told her that she had cut her hand on the railing while jumping over the patio. But in her statement, remind you, she said that Jennifer told her she cut it moving a piece of the broken plant pot. Eva also adds that when she was returning from getting help, she saw Jennifer standing in front of Miss Palomina's apartment. Jennifer started stuffing something into her pocket. She couldn't see what it was. It was something small enough to fit in there, which I personally feel like it's her insinuating that it was that wallet stuff in her pocket. But you make your own assumptions. And she says that Jennifer changed clothes between the time that she had waken up and her return, which was simply not true. That wasn't even mentioned at all in any of the prior statements. It wasn't until she had to give a statement to the grand jury that this tidbit of information, which will be a huge detail to have missed, the first time it's brought up. If you haven't gathered by now, Jennifer's lawyer sucks. And when it is time for him to cross-examine the witness, he requests copies of her statements. This man had not read a single statement on the star witness. Once he gets himself caught up to speed, he is very hostile with the witness when somebody need to be hostile with him. He constantly cuts her off, calls her a liar, which I believe she is, but you can't say that in the court. You can't just yell that this lady is a liar, okay? Have the prosecution objecting all over the place, just uncouth in the courtroom. Now, her lawyer does ask her who Tommy is, the person that paged her that morning, and why he would be paging her so early. And she just says that Tommy is some guy she knows from the club that she dances at, and he probably did that just to annoy her. And when asked by Jennifer's lawyer, which was absolutely crazy, on the stand, this man asked her what the voice sounded like that she heard. That response, coming from Miss Palomina's apartment. She says that she can't say whether it was a male or female's voice, just that it wasn't the lady's voice. Jennifer's lawyer does not call any of his own witnesses to the stand, not Jane Dorsey to confirm whether or not she had really gone to that apartment that morning, not Craig Peters to question whether or not they were on the phone. The police had not even ever reached out to them to ask about that, like not once. Her lawyer does not press the issue of her being a 15-year-old minor and how they had obtained her confession without the presence of her parents, let alone a lawyer, and how they only accepted the fourth version she had given them after being fed lies like they have her DNA all over the place, explaining that, and her DNA being all over the purse, her being questioned for hours by a team of detectives without the understanding that she had the right not to say anything at all without the presence of a lawyer. And one of those detectives is Detective Smith. Now, he is brought into trial to give his testimony, and according to him, he who physically typed the confession, it was her exact words, and he had simply typed them as she spoke. And this is what the statement said. 2 days before the murder, 2 men that Jennifer knows, Ernest and Tim, had come by Eva's apartment, and Ernest had asked Jennifer about the white Honda parked outside. And she told him it belonged to the lady that lived downstairs. At that point, Ernest decides he wants to steal the Honda from the lady that lives downstairs. So they then come up with a plan. Now, Ernest and Tim are these experienced car thieves, and they said that they could get more money from the car if it wasn't hot wired and if there were no windows broken, so they would need the keys to achieve this. The plan was the following night they will come back, break in, and Jennifer had agreed to be the lookout. They'll enter her apartment, they'll tie her up, steal her keys, but the following night, when they're supposed to, the guys do not show up. Tuesday morning came around, she got the page from Craig Peters, brushed her teeth, washed her face, goes to use her phone, and on the way back from Jane Dorsey's apartment, she had run into Ernest and Tim. Now, Ernest and Tim don't live in the neighborhood, they just so happen to be walking around the complex this morning. And they're ready to carry out their plan right now in broad daylight. They ask her if Miss Palomina is at home. Jennifer says yes, and that she knows the lady's at home because she had just said good morning to her on the way out. They tell Jennifer to go knock on the lady's door as they wait out of view on the steps. She knocks, the lady says, "Who is it?" She says, "Your neighbor from upstairs." Miss Palomina asks, "What do you want?" And while Jennifer is trying to think of something to say, in response, another 2 men that she is familiar with, one named Red Rock, I forget the other one's, Housen is the other's name. Red Rock and Housen come from around the corner and asks her about the Mexican upstairs, which is Eva. She tells them that Eva was asleep and that they needed to go on, skedaddle, scream. And so Red Rock and Housen walk off. Instead of knocking again, she just tells Ernest and Tim, like, hey, she's in there, we need to just get it done. Ernest jumps over the patio, Tim jumps over the patio, then he helps Jennifer over the patio, rips the screen door down. Miss Palomina approaches the glass door, asking what they're doing, what's going on. Ernest slides the door open, Miss Palomina starts screaming. They all go in, first Ernest and Tim, then Jennifer. She tells them to hurry up and get the keys so they can go. Miss Palomina is still screaming, so Ernest tells her to shut up. And she says okay, but moments later she starts screaming again. So he had taken a white object and hit her over the head with it, and it shattered. And per this type confession, Jennifer watched as the lady fell to the floor. Then Tim had instructed her to go find the keys, grab her purse, look through that. So that is why she picked up one purse, looked through it, told him they're not in it. She then goes to the bedroom and sees another purse. She ruffles through it, finds the keys, gives them to Ernest. The lady screams again. So Tim hits her over the head again, this time with a flower pot. She stops screaming and is presumed to have been dead at that point. Jennifer yells at them that it wasn't supposed to go down like this. She checks the woman for a pulse. She does not feel one. Then Jennifer and Tim watch as Ernest stabs the woman's lifeless body several times with the knife. At this point, they hear Eva outside asking her if she is okay. Ernest does his best impersonation of an elderly lady's voice, responding. Jennifer tells the men that it's time to go, and they all flee the same way they came, jumping over the patio. When they leave, they flee. They don't even take the car. They have her keys, but they tell Jennifer they'll just come back later and get the car. The block is hot. And these men manage to flee unseen by anyone. They're never located, they're never identified, given last names, no physical descriptions, no nothing. Like, you'll guess about who Ernest and Tim are is as good as my guess. Jennifer says she doesn't know Ernest nor Tim. She doesn't know where these names came from, who these men are supposed to be. So it is widely believed, I believe, that Detective What's-His-Face, Allen and Swenson, they made up this whole scenario, this whole tale, based on the bits and pieces of what they knew from the crime scene, mixed with a little bit of what Eva said, and decided this will do. No one else that had been interviewed had seen these men, had ever heard of these men. Not even the two men, Red Rock and Housen, they had approached Jennifer. So I believe she told them about this, and that little part was true. These men were from around the complex. People knew who they were. They had seen Jennifer that morning leaving Eva's apartment, had stopped her to ask about Eva, but they didn't see any men, no Ernest, no Tim, sitting on the stairs. And the way that apartment is set up, they had to have seen the man sitting on the stairs if they were really there. Another major red flag and huge contradiction is the fact that in the confession, it says that Miss Palomino was hit over the head with a flower pot. Initially, the crime scene looked as though that might have been the case because she was laying on the floor. She did have some blunt force trauma, and there was a broken flower pot and vase next to her. At the time of this type confession, Detective Allen does not have access to the autopsy. He only has access to the crime scene photos. But during trial, it is revealed by the medical examiner as well as the forensics team that the vase and the flower pot had only fallen and been shattered. They were not used to hit this woman. It was actually the metal stand that they sat on that was used to hit her. And that metal stand had left an indenture that matched its form perfectly. But nowhere in this confession does it mention that the stand was used. It specifically states that the flower pot was used. Now, in regards to the manner in which they had obtained this confession from this 15-year-old, the detectives justify it by saying that at the time they were just asking her questions. She was not a person of interest. They were simply having a conversation with her. She was not handcuffed and was free to leave at any moment. When asked if they had ever told her that, Detective Allen said no, they didn't tell her that she was free to leave at any moment. They just assumed that she knew that. None of her conversation, interrogation, whatever you want to call it, whatever semantics you want to play, none of it was recorded. There is no audio, there is no video. And as far as evidence, Miss Palomina's wallet is dusted for fingerprints matching Jennifer's, but there are none that matches hers. The prosecution tries to say that, the wallet was mishandled. It rolled around in a Walmart bag in the back of this man's car for months, like they could have rubbed off. But according to the Houston Crime Lab, Jennifer's DNA does not match any of the DNA they recovered from the scene. Not from a flower pot piece, not from the victim herself, not from her purses. So all of that was just a complete lie that the detectives told Jennifer to get to say that she had touched these things. And despite all of the inconsistencies and the DNA results excluding Jennifer from the crime scene, based off of the very suspicious typed up confession and Eva Mondragon's testimony, the jury finds 15-year-old Jennifer Jeffley guilty of capital murder, leaving her to face the death penalty. At her sentencing, she was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of paroling after 40 years. And she has been behind bars since that day she was picked up at 15 just to answer a few questions and help them with the investigation. She went to file an appeal and they assigned her the exact same lawyer. They handled her case, the same public defender. All of her initial appeals are denied. It does take a few years, but Jackie, Jennifer's mother, finally is able to afford an attorney for her daughter, who's been a lot more active and involved and really felt confident in his ability to have her conviction overturned, just given the facts. But despite his efforts, Jennifer's subsequent appeals have also been denied. A public outcry has led to a creation of a petition to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, which was started by Jennifer's family and has received over 1 million signatures in support of her by people who believe she is innocent and should be freed. But unfortunately, nothing has been done yet. She is still in prison, and if she is not successful in having her conviction overturned, and she is also granted parole after 40 years, she'll be 55 when she is released. Y'all, this is crazy. In closing, I'm gonna say, I believe Eva Mondragon. I think Tommy, whoever it was that paid shit that morning, whether it was a boyfriend or somebody from the club, hell, he can be both. I think that she was upset about the complaints and Tommy or whoever else had came up with a plan to get rid of this lady who kept complaining. It happened that morning. The boyfriend, hearing that door close, was Eva coming back up while her friend, boyfriend, whomever was still downstairs in Miss Palomina's apartment. The boys heard the screaming. They got to her, and then she just fell in line playing the role like, oh, what's going on? Oh my goodness. Because it's just too much. Too much inconsistencies after that. Like, how you take off on foot when this lady's screaming, but by the time you get to the office, it's, oh, there's a dead woman in the apartment. That's because y'all had plans to kill the lady. And Eva or her friend took that wallet behind the refrigerator and forgot about it. That's how you knew. It's just a terrible, unfortunate case that this young girl has been in jail all of this time. Mind you, Jennifer said she has not heard from Eva Mondragon since she got picked up. Like, she never heard from her again. Initially, before I really got deep into it, I thought maybe this was like a group effort that Jennifer was maybe in on it with Eva. But why would Eva tell some kids, 15-year-old kids, about a plan like this? Like, I don't foresee somebody trusting children with being in on this. And the timeline is just not consistent with Jennifer being involved in any of the things, because she got up, she got her bed, she went to talk on the phone and came back, and all of this is going on. It's just sad. I hate that it has happened. Those are just my thoughts. It is so sad. And the tactics used by the detectives, you know what I don't like? I feel like the whole time I kept thinking, like, these are grown men. One of y'all gotta have a daughter. For a group of grown men to sit interrogating and pressuring a 15-year-old girl, like, at no point did you not realize or think like, dang, this could be my daughter. Like, I wouldn't want nobody doing this to my child. It's just crazy that they just didn't look at this 15-year-old child and see a 15-year-old child. Like, this is the kid. For them to not be reprimanded at all for the role that they played in getting this confession is just crazy to me. The child, like I said, disgusted, not surprised. Please let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Subscribe button, because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, your taste level is lacking and you don't have a sense of humor, which is crazy to say because I'm here to talk to you about, wow, true crime. 23, yeah. The manager checks for a pulse, and there is none. Okay, girl, get it together, girl. And they're able to stand there for a couple of minutes before, okay, girl. Jennifer's sister. You okay, Bella? Girl, please don't die right now. Please. I just don't have the time. After a talk, okay, after the talk, and Eva is 24, that's her. And at this point, Jennifer is just thinking that, like, this is okay. And then the thug, just had done a complete 180. Is right, because in 3 cents would be like, so. Mama fine, okay, she had already been on, okay, come on, Brittany, come on. And Eva's statement then goes, okay, girl, this woman like is getting on my nerves. Interest, right? If she was asleep by herself in the living room and there was no one there to shoot her, oh my gosh, please. Miss Palomino, Miss Palomina, y'all can hear Bella, I'm sorry, she's going to town on the phone. What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel. And not welcome back, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, you know, it's you dating, you got a problem, and your taste level is lacking and all of that, which has nothing to do with me. For everyone else, welcome. I hope you're doing well. You guys did not see me last week, and that was for a reason. Let me just explain something, y'all. I live under a rock, okay? I am a protector of my peace at all costs. So a lot of things happen in the world that I'm unaware of. Marcelus Williams' case is one of the things that I had no knowledge of. I saw it circulating last week for the first time, and the thing is, I've been Black all my life, so not much really surprises me. I started looking into his case, and I literally could not stop reading about it. It got to the point where I was like, wow, this is a lot. And I figured several things. I feel like his story is very important to be told as many times as it can be told. And I also figured that there may be other people who had heard the name, seen his picture, and was not aware of the details. And so it went from me just trying to educate myself to be collecting notes so I can then educate y'all as well. So that's what we're talking about. And that took up my whole week. It's a lot to unpack. So Felicia Gale comes from a large, tight-knit family, and after high school graduation in 1974, she attends the University of Illinois to pursue a degree in journalism. There she meets the man she would eventually marry, Daniel, who is becoming a doctor. And while the two of them don't have children of their home is not without the presence of children. Felicia, who gets a job working as a reporter for a St. Louis newspaper, is also a tutor for underprivileged children. And she goes far beyond just being a tutor. She takes these kids on trips to places, exposing them to different things that they probably would not have. She also works to build relationships with their parents and their family. And she even has these children over to her house to like bake cookies and do fun little crafts and things like that. Very involved with the children. Making greeting cards is another something that she enjoys doing in her downtime, and it's something that those around her really enjoy and look forward to receiving. And Felicia spends hours making these cards. She puts a lot of thought into the wording, the art, and on August 11th of 1998, she has a stack of over 30 greeting cards ready to be mailed out to different family members, friends, for various occasions, but unfortunately, she does not get the chance to send them out. That evening, Felicia's husband, Daniel, leaves to work for the day and arrives at their home located in a gated suburb of St. Louis to find Felicia laying lifeless on the floor of the foyer in their home. Now, immediately, Daniel calls 911 and the police arrive to their house at about 7:50 p.m. At the scene, police find a bloody shoe print not belonging to Felicia nor her husband, and the crime scene itself kind of paints a picture of Felicia's final moments. Felicia had a routine of taking a shower, and there was this purple shirt that she will always put on after the shower. You know, sometimes the girls we put on like a robe or something while we do our hair, our makeup, or just moisturize. So it appeared that Felicia had been upstairs showering at the time that somebody entered her home. And it was assumed that she had thrown it on, heard a noise coming from the first level of their home, and had gone down the stairs to check it out. But unfortunately, she had been met by her perpetrator at around the third step up. That is where the blood trail begins, and it leads to where she was found, which was on a rug nearby. She suffered between her neck and head a total of 43 wounds at the hands of her attacker, who had used a butcher knife from her own kitchen, and it had been left lodged and twisted into her neck. She had a lot of defensive wounds on her hands, on her arms, showing that she had attempted to block some of the blows and fight off whoever was attacking her. And she also has blood and skin underneath her fingernails from where she had scratched them as well. And I also managed to pull several strands of hair from the person, and she still had this hair clutched in her hand. Now, in addition to the DNA that she has collected from her killer and the shoe print, they had left behind a bloody fingerprint as well.
Thank
now,
you.
as the crime scene is, this is not the
They just
first of its
gifted me
kind that the
on
police
YouTube.
have seen recently. Less than a month prior, on July 18th, just 3 miles away,
Thank you, y'all.
Deborah McClain had been found inside of her apartment the exact same way. The cases of these two women mirror each other. Deborah had also been at home alone when her attacker came in. They had also used a knife from her kitchen and had left it lodged and twisted into her neck as well. Now, the medical examiner involved in both women's cases points out the similarities between the two to detectives and makes it very known that they believe that this was the work of the same person, which you would think will go without saying. They still had not figured out who had done this to Deborah, so obviously the person responsible is still at large. The victims themselves were also very similar in superficial ways. Felicia's 42, Deborah's 40. They have similar body types, both have long brown hair, and as far as the wounds, they have about the same number and they're all in the same exact location. Both women's purses were stolen from their home, and additionally, a laptop has been stolen from Felicia's home that belongs to her husband. And John McClain, Deborah's husband, just as Daniel had with Felicia, he returned home to find this very grisly sight and had called the police. Instead of being found in the foyer near the front door, though, Deborah had been found inside of her kitchen. Now, a family member of Deborah's has alleged that a week later at Deborah's funeral, her husband John had told them that both he and the police were aware of what
Thank
done
you.
to Deborah,
There's so
and
more
said,
money.
quote, "You'll be surprised when you find out." He doesn't say who the person is. He doesn't give any clues as to who the
Thank
person
you,
was.
Ryan.
That's all he said. And why he'll say this is beyond I mean, because police
They said the
actually
woman on the
have
TV need me to fix her hair.
have done this. A
That's not
$10,000
nice.
reward is offered on behalf of both.
I love Brittany.
Anybody who has any type of information related to the homicide, but no one comes forward.
But thank you,
8
though.
months later, when they still have no suspect, no leads, and haven't had any answers to give to either family, the investigating team begins to receive a lot of backlash for their lack of progress. So girls were calling them incompetent. Then what appeared to be out of nowhere, Captain Jeffrey Keller, the chief of the Bureau of Investigation at the time, comes forward and asserts that Felicia's murder was, quote, an isolated incident. Despite all of these similarities, he points out the differences between the two women. Felicia had a career as a journalist. She was the wife of a doctor. She lived in this nice neighborhood, gated community, whereas Deborah was an employee at Walgreens. She lived in an apartment, and although there was only 3 miles between their residences, her apartment was in a lower income area. As if any of this means that this could not be the work of the same person. It just seemed really odd, really strange that all of a sudden they want to separate these two women and say, well, no, on second thought, this was not the work of the same person. Now, it appeared that way on the surface, that it was just random. But in reality, behind the scenes, there was actually a reason that they were setting this up to separate the two women's cases. Because a man named Henry Cole Jr. has come into play. Now, Henry is a career criminal. He is no stranger to the police force whatsoever.
Thank y'all for the
this man
they
has
sent
received
$500.
over 12 convictions.
Thank
ranging
you.
from
Thank you,
robbery
Ryan.
to unlawful possession of a concealed firearm. Child, let's go on. He a dirty little me. And was very recently incarcerated.
Thank
at
you so
City
much.
Jail in St. Louis. Now, during his stay in jail, he had met 29-year-old.
Said happy birthday if it's my birthday.
Who was in there for burglarizing, child robbing a Burger King. Just 20 days after the murder of Felicia, Henry and Marcelus shared a cell, and in conversation, the two of them found out they were related, not by blood, but like by marriage. And in jail, when you ain't got nobody, that's enough to feel like family. So they get along, there's no issue as far as Marcelus knows. And according to Henry, sometime in early to mid-May, he and Marcelus were watching the 6 o'clock news. It was a day like any other jail day, when a segment about Felicia Gale's unsolved case aired. Now, it is important to mention that at the end of this segment, the $10,000 reward money is mentioned, and they urge anyone who has any information to come forward. Roughly 2 weeks after watching this segment, on June 4th, Henry Cole Jr. is released from jail. And that same day, he goes right into a police station and tells them that he knows exactly who was responsible for Felicia Gale's murder. His old cellmate, Marcelus. He tells them about the night the segment aired roughly 2 weeks before, and that later on that same evening, Marcelus confided in him, confessing that he had been the perpetrator. According to him, Marcelus said that he had taken the bus midday to that neighborhood and had committed the crime. Now, Henry also lets them know that this information that he's coming forward with, it is not for free, it's not out of the goodness of his heart.
He said more money.
money.
Thank you, Ryan.
About claiming that. And just like that, solely based off of Henry's tip, police began investigating Marcelus Williams. And I use the term investigating very loosely. They go to question an ex-girlfriend of his named
You all sending more money?
who also has a
sent
criminal history of her
$500.
own, including
Well, first person said 2 more, now they sending 5 more.
warrants for
Thank
arrest.
you.
So when they show up, child, she thinks this is it. She's about to be hauled off. She's also very familiar with the officers. She is no stranger to them. Many of her priors have come from sex work or drug-related charges.
$18.
And she had actually
It's
been
made $18
in one
out
of
of that.
theirs in the past in order to help get out some of her own stuff. She had even testified against Marcelus.
Thank y'all so
for in
much.
exchange
Thank
for
you
reduced charges
to
related to her sex work. So
Tim.
on this day, she
Oh, thank you,
was
Ryan,
notified
again.
that they are not there to
You
arrest
sent
her
$5
for her outstanding warrant.
Am I
They
tripping?
are there to ask her
No.
more questions.
It's going through.
Marcelus.
Thank you,
So
Ryan.
right away, they put the offer on the table to help her get her current warrants taken care of in exchange for any information that might be helpful in their
I'm
investigation.
gonna start staying on
Then
live.
there's also their reward money
Okay,
as
well.
well on the
You
table.
sending
She would have
money.
given the entire 10K because
Thank y'all
Henry
so
was to
much.
do a portion of it. So between the two of them, it will be split. So when they asked if Marcelus
Yeah, this
had
gonna be a
ever
good month on
confessed to
YouTube
her
then.
about committing this particular crime, she says yes. And in the final version of the statement that take from her. She says that he had confessed to her, and on that evening she had seen some scratch marks on his neck. She had asked him about the scratch marks, and he told her that he had driven to Felicia's house midday.
I'm guessing you don't want ice cream.
Threatened her life and the lives of her family
You don't want ice cream.
if she ever told anybody. So now we have one person saying he confessed to them and said he took a bus midday. Another person
Am I
saying,
going slow?
"Yeah, he confessed."
No, you're
Said he
going
drove
really
over there
fast,
midday.
actually.
Mind you, we had an old Buick LeSabre that they
I'll be in my head alive like, dang,
let me go a little bit faster.
Please. You are going really
The
fast.
trunk didn't even close all the way, yet no one recalls seeing this car in the neighborhood or outside of Felicia's house in the middle of the day.
Girl, trust me. I be telling people, I'm like, look, I know y'all don't want to sit here for 10 hours, neither do I.
I don't want to pray for 10 hours straight.
Yeah, I don't.
My hands are gonna hurt.
Trust me, like, that's what I put in my head. I'm like, look, I can't be standing on my feet for 10 hours. I gotta go fast.
Is not quite the same. He admits to
But
receiving
your hair still look good regardless,
that
though.
was likely stolen from Marcelus as collateral
It's
for
good that you can braid fast
not
because
drugs.
Yeah,
And Glenn
I've been
also
braiding
knows
since I was
now
like 12,
that
13.
Marcelus mentioned
So it's been
that
a while
this
now.
laptop he had
I
gotten
tried to learn, but I just
from
couldn't
Parole.
figure it out.
I was forced, girl. Who was gonna do my hair?
My sister's mom used to do hair. She was like, you braid the right way
LOL.
to braid hair. Like when I braid my own hair, like it's just regular little plaits.
Yeah.
And she was like, if you would just like grip
Grip
the
tighter,
hair,
yeah.
grip the hair. And I'm like,
I don't know how
I'm
to grip
gripping it. I swear, I'm gripping it. It's like, you're not. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, stepmom.
Well,
Yeah, it's really, honestly, if you don't know how to do hair, the best way to start is learning how to do cornrows, because that's basically, like, this is the same way how you position your hand in corn, the same way I'm doing with braids. That's the easiest thing. Like, I learned how to braid by doing cornrows first, and then after I learned how to do cornrows, then I went on to plaits. It's not that hard.
it's not. I just don't have the patience.
Yeah, it's just really patience, and then you want it to get it perfect, and you're not gonna get it perfect on the first try. Because I mean, when I used to do my own hair, it wasn't perfect. But yeah, it's practice.
Laura has been living inside of the car, but they still
You know my stomach?
Like, you get up? Yeah, I'm a little hungry.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat. I think after my next room.
And his cellmate. And Laura Asaro agrees to testify against Marcelus, repeating all of these things on the stand in exchange for dismissal of outstanding warrants against her and a share in the reward money. According to police at this point, Marcelus Williams, despite all of these inconsistencies,
Did you want to go
is now
grab
a
something?
viable suspect
No.
in a case of
I'm gonna take a break in my other room.
Okay, that's fine.
Because Marcelus was actually in jail.
You want to steal, right? Ain't nothing in here to steal.
There's
Unless
nothing
you want
in
the
here.
TV.
I mean, and it's kind of heavy, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It was just no way they would be able to say he was responsible for both when he was in jail during one. As
Like,
far
one of
as
my
there
clients
being
just told me that she see I'm still break. She said I'm still inside the house. She said I should have called her to come hang out. Like, girl, braided. My clients really do be, y'all be caring about this.
He's like, no, because when you live in the same neighborhood, it's just, you're here, I mean, I'm here. You're not doing nothing, I'm not doing nothing.
No, I am doing something. Who just sent more money, girl? Sent $500. Thank you so much, Tim. I don't know what you put, but thank you a lot.
His lawyer does request testing.
I'm gonna stay on this TikTok and on this YouTube live because they keep giving me
So
money.
that they could be compared to his, because you would think that's like one of the.
Only if I could get it right now. So
To like rule out or.
I think I done made like what, $30 so far? Yeah.
I can say that is impossible because the police have now lost.
For real, yes. Y'all see what Tim said? Y'all trying to talk to me, but y'all don't want to send me no money. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much, Ryan. Are y'all calling each other broke? Y'all trying to see you gonna send me the most money? I love y'all.
He also put in a continuance request
Your booty hurt?
A little
Just a
bit.
little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
He was given a different capital murder case, and so he's trying to work two very, very big cases at the same time. And he did want to give each one enough attention to detail. However, the courts did not feel
This is
that was
funny.
reason enough for him to request a continuance. continuance. Now, in regard to his caseload, Marcellus's lawyer said that he did the best he could, but couldn't honestly say that he did his due diligence because his attention was so divided. He had asked for several continuances, and all were denied. Marcellus's trial begins in June of 2001, and they are off to a terrible start. The process of the jury selection was
Thank
great.
you.
The prosecution struck 6 of 7 qualified Black candidates from the panel, and the 7th because they were a postal worker. The reason being, according to them, is that postal workers are typically disgruntled, lacking in ambition. Therefore, they don't make good jurors. That was the reason. And this sounds crazy to me, but this is actually a thing in Missouri and probably elsewhere. It even has a name. It's referred to as the postman gambit, and it's the process of automatically striking all postal workers during the jury selection process, and has been a long-standing practice in Missouri despite
Thank
being
y'all.
called out
Ryan sent $20.
racial bias and symptoms.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Ryan said lunch on me. Thank you.
In Missouri are
I'm not gonna be able to get the funds
the
though,
official
y'all,
jury selected for
until
Marcelus is
next
11
month
white
on the
jurors
21st.
and 1 African-American juror. So they started the trial under heavy criticism and with plenty accusations.
Thank
of
you.
racial
Thank
bias.
y'all for
Now,
supporting me a
during
lot.
this trial, both incentivized witnesses, meaning they receiving something for their
Ryan, send me a
testimony. They're
good
just not
20.
here because this is something they witnessed or heard or was told. It's an exchange for something. Both testified sticking to their original conflicting versions of events. And Henrico actually admits on the stand that his sole purpose for coming forward, and if he had not received his half, he wouldn't even come to court that day. Glenn Roberts also takes the stand and repeats what he had told police about how he had acquired the laptop, including the comment.
Thank y'all. She about to start partying big. Y'all, I'm gonna be just braiding y'all.
The judge decides that part of his testimony would not be heard by the jury, and he rules that as hearsay. The trial judge says that if Marcelus wants the jury to know where the laptop came from, that he had gotten it from his girlfriend Laura, then he needs to take the stand and testify and say it. But Marcelus Williams had already decided that he was going to exercise his Fifth Amendment and wasn't planning on taking the stand, which
Thank
he has the right
y'all.
not to do. So with this
Oh my
omission
God.
of very important
Thank you,
information,
Tim.
all the jury knows is that Marcelus had Felicia's laptop and that he pawned it. Now, in addition to the laptop, the state points to the ruler and the calculator being found inside of the glove compartment of his car, and the defense, of course, highlights.
Thank y'all so much for watching me. I know y'all love me a little bit.
Either item. But according to the prosecution, that is because Marcelus wiped them down. Now, Marcellus's lawyer fires back saying, or maybe they were planted there by either police themselves or their star witness who was actually living in the car at the time. And Laura was also still in possession of a laptop bag that looks exactly like the one that Felicia's laptop was inside. But bags don't have serial numbers, so there's no way to prove that this bag was Felicia's bag, and they turn a blind eye to that bag. Then they get to the topic of the forensic evidence. The shoe print found inside of Felicia's home, it did not match her shoe size, it did not match her husband's, and it does not match the size of Marcellus's shoe either. They also recovered pubic hair from the scene and Felicia's hair was touched inside her home. Neither sample of the hair matched Felicia, her husband, nor do they match Marcelus Williams. The blood and skin collected from underneath her fingernails, they don't belong to him either. Additionally, the handle of the weapon has foreign DNA on it also. Foreign DNA that matches members of the prosecution team. Now, they admit to handling it without gloves on, and they say that that's how their DNA got on it. But it just really speaks to how careless they were. After hearing all of the things, all of the DNA test results,
Thank you, y'all. Thank y'all for liking my live as well and gifting.
Guilty. June 19th of 2001, during his sentencing, it takes the jurors all of 90 minutes, including their lunch break, to decide what his punishment would be, and they decide that this man deserved the death penalty. Now, of course, because this is some bull, he wastes no time filing an appeal, but the appellate court denies it and decides to uphold his conviction. In 2003, he files another motion for post-conviction relief, citing his attorney's inability to fully give his case the attention it needed, and says that the court should have tested Laura to see if her DNA matches this mystery person's DNA. And 2 years later, in 2005, the Missouri Supreme Court denies this motion as well, and again chooses to uphold his conviction. Now, the following year, his counsel decided to request that police conduct further DNA testing, comparing the DNA evidence not only to his ex-girlfriend Laura, but others as well that were inside of the DNA database, just to see if there was a match to anyone else that was already in the system. Request denied. Now, his lawyer pushes back against the denial, and it is escalated all the way up to the United States Supreme Court and is even denied there. And after that, Marcelus is given an execution date of January 28, 2015. Now, of course, he still is not giving up. In his lawyer filed yet another motion to have the DNA that was found on the weapon compared to the DNA found at the McLean crime scene that is still unsolved. Now, this is a very reasonable request, right? Just compare the DNA found at one crime scene to the DNA found at another, just to rule out or confirm that this was the work of the same person. The Supreme Court at this point halts his execution and appoints a special master to review the DNA findings. Their finding is that there is not enough foreign DNA present on the handle of the knife to create an entire profile. They're able to say that definitively, without a doubt, none of the
Thank y'all
DNA
for
found
watching me,
on the
though.
handle matches Marcelus Williams' DNA. And this is according to 3 different independent experts, one of which explained to CNN that while it's not enough DNA to convict someone, it is enough to rule someone out. And to put it in layman's terms, the example they used was like having 2 different social security numbers that you're trying to see if they're the exact same, but one of them has numbers that are smudged or missing. You can't definitively say, yes, these are the exact 2 numbers. But if one starts with a 2 and the other one starts with a 6, you can say, okay, yeah, no, these are not the exact same social security numbers. So these results, as well as the experts' findings, they're all handed over with hopes that Marcelus will get another court.
Hey,
But instead,
Tim.
on January 31st of 2017, without
Thank
warning,
you.
the Missouri Supreme Court denies him another court date without reason as to why, as if DNA evidence and experts excluding him as the perpetrator still was not enough to at least hear him and his lawyer out. And because his original execution date had passed, they then set a new one of August 22nd of 2017, just 6 months ahead. And every one of his subsequent appeals are denied. Like, what was the point of assigning a master to look into the things, bro? You gonna disregard what they had to say? With this new date just months away, he is continuing to fight for his freedom. And by now, even Felicia's family is advocating for him. They want the person who did this to pay, not just some random person that you can get away with pinning it on. And as far as Deborah McLean's family, it's like the police didn't even care to do the song and dance for her less affluent family. With very little time left, his lawyer makes a desperate attempt to petition the governor of Missouri at the time,
Okay,
Eric
Tim.
Rice, to stop the execution and review evidence of innocence. Now, little history, a Missouri governor has ever only used their power to stop an execution 3 times in all of the history that they have had the ability to do so. But with the case so obviously botched and all of the DNA evidence pointing to innocence, it was worth a shot. Marcellus's new execution date comes, and with just 4 hours before he is due to be executed, Governor Eric Rice agrees to postpone it and have a board of 5 former judges to review the things again. He specifically instructs that the board investigate the claims regarding the DNA. He also issues this statement: it is the ultimate permanent punishment to carry out the death penalty. The people of Missouri must have confidence in the judgment of guilt, and in light of new information, I am appointing a board of inquiry in this case. And the board has a few options here. So they can
Thank y'all. And no, not right now, Ryan.
And retry him, having all of the things fairly considered during
Thank
the
y'all
second
as
trial.
well.
They could commute his sentence to life in prison without the possibility of parole, or they can uphold his conviction and he'll get what will now be his 3rd execution date. The board begins its investigation, and Marcelus and his lawyer are fully cooperative and responsive when they're asked for additional additional statements, additional paperwork, and just answers to questions. And then on May 29th of 2018, about 9 months later into their investigation, Governor Eric Greitens resigns after a scandal regarding his misuse of campaign funds and sexual misconduct. He is very quickly replaced with this guy, Michael L. Parsons, and the board continues its investigation with them requesting additional information from Marcelus's legal team well into 2020. And this entire time the board has been investigating, which is now over 3 years. The prosecutors, they have been completely unresponsive. They have not been answering questions. They have not been turning over the requested paperwork to the board. They just haven't been responsive at all. Between 2020 and 2023, no more additional information is requested from Marcellus's team. They don't hear anything from the board, and his lawyer is feeling and hoping at least that no news is good news. So they're just patiently awaiting their findings. He has now been incarcerated behind this particular case for 23 years. Now, during this time in prison, he did become a devout Muslim and acted as a spiritual advisor for the other inmates. So he was making good use of his time, at least the best he could, I guess. And with COVID going on, it's understandable that there would be some delays and possibly more pressing matters.
Thank you so much, Heather.
But then, June 28th of 2023, Governor Michael Parsons issues an executive order to dissolve the board.
Thank you, Tim.
Without reason and without them concluding their inquiry so that they can make an informed decision. He also lifts Marcellus's stay of execution with his reason being that the board
Thank you so much,
had
Tim.
for nearly 6 years now without coming to a conclusion, and he did not want them to go on an additional 6 years investigating, delaying justice, leaving the victim's family in limbo. Child, the victim family is trying to put a stop to this. Like, you're speaking about a family.
I'm so sorry, Norlin.
For this man's freedom, or at least for him to have a fair trial. They have been very vocal that they did not feel that this was going to bring them justice, and them recognizing that this was not about what was in their best interest or what they really needed at all, but more so about the police wanting to look like they solved the case and not wanting to admit that they were wrong. The governor also said that this process solves nothing, and we should instead rely on the due process of the law, which had been completed during the trial and sentencing. The very next day after his executive order, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey asked the Supreme Court to issue a new execution date for Marcellus. Now, August 24th, last year of 2023, Marcellus and his legal team, along with the Innocence Project, they filed a civil lawsuit against the governor, claiming he violated Marcellus's due process rights by abruptly dissolving this board. And as a last-ditch effort to try to at least save this man's life, his attorney works along with some members of the original prosecution team to try to reach a deal that would stop him from being it. The deal was that Marcellus will offer an Alford plea. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what that is, an Alford plea is when you still
I had a
maintain
dream
your
that
innocence,
one of my
but you
nails
acknowledge
broke off.
that the state has
Like my
While you're
finger.
breathing.
Like I got my nails done, and I had a dream that this popped off. So I don't know, I woke up thinking that one of my nails popped off.
But at least with the
That was a weird dream.
a lesser sentence, which would be most likely life in prison.
No,
without
no,
the
no.
possibility of
That wasn't a
state
weird
separation.
dream.
Was it?
The dreams me and my roommates have, we be talking about them. At the end of the day, we be like, bro.
What the hell?
So like, you were in my dream last night. Do you remember this, that, and the third? They were like, bro. I had
Have
a
they ever dream?
dream.
They dream about you too?
Mhm. Like I swear sometimes we dream by each other on the same nights, and we'd be like, bro.
Do you be thinking about them a lot?
Bro.
No.
I mean, I live with them,
Yeah. So
so
you have to think
I
about.
have to think about them a lot.
You know, they say like, you know, you could make people appear, like you could appear in somebody's dream.
Yeah. But I'm very visual, so I can do that already.
You can appear in people's dreams.
No, like I can see
People in your dreams.
in my, like in my head, I can see like a 3D version of whatever I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I'm like, I have like photogenic, like, yeah.
But not photogenic as in like I can look at study notes and then be able to think about those
Yeah, I
study notes.
can.
I can't do that, but I can remember a building and how it was designed and the colors and be able to remember that.
See, I wouldn't be able to. But I can like read over something. Like I used to like study before my test, literally. And I used to pass.
I wish I could say I can't believe it. I wish I could say, oh my God, it's so shocking.
But would I do that? Like if I go to college, I don't think I would do that in college.
I don't think I was surprised. Like I said, I've been black my whole life, so not much surprises me. The word is not surprising. The word is just disgusted, I guess. I guess I'm just disgusted. Although a point comes where you're no longer surprised by the things, I don't know that you ever stop being disgusted. I feel like that's where I am. Like that's the proper words. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video before you leave. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, I appreciate you so much for tuning in.
We are watching Brittany Vaughn, y'all.
In the next one, which will be Thursday. Child, Thursday's video was definitely a mess. Peace. This case did lead me to another one I'm gonna talk about next Tuesday. I'll go ahead and tell you the case of Jennifer Sheffling, another someone who is also behind bars. I'm not finished researching, so I'm not gonna give any of my thoughts yet. I like to make very informed opinions, and so we're gonna break her case down next week, and y'all be safe. Who was in there for a record? Henry and Marcelus share the serial match. No, not the serial matches. Still, with these inconsistencies, they continue to focus. Okay, they searched the inoperable. Girl, I feel like the last part of the word got stuck in my mouth. It got stuck. My brain thought it came out. Okay, but not in the case of Deborah. But not in the case of Deborah. I'm saying Deborah. Why? As far as there being similarities, okay now. What? Not the ice cream truck, really. Slow down. Here I go. You can't say that it is an exact match to the Eric Greitens to stop the escape together and have a board of five former Georges. Oh my God. 5 former judges. Andrew Bailey asked the Supreme. What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel, and now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, the taste level is lacking, which has nothing to do with me. Okay? Y'all did not see me last week at all. Even after I promised y'all a garden vlog, baby, I threw my whole back out. Like, who knew that was really a thing? Probably everybody except me, honestly. I was rearranging the jungle, and I have some very large, heavy plants in there. One of them being this large form Monstera deliciosa that is, I don't remember how many gallons that the pot is, but it's heavy. And it has a metal fan trellis. Child, I picked her up just fine. I went to set her down, and I felt the fan trellis shift, which made me feel like she was gonna fall. Here's where everything went left. I didn't want my baby to fall. Y'all know mama loves her plants, okay? I did not want her to fall, so instead of bending my knees, I just moved like bent forward straight. Baby, when the plant hit the ground, damn near so did I. I felt a sharp pain, but when I stood up, I felt fine. It was when I went to pick up the next plant, which was so light, probably weighed a pound, and I bent forward to set it down. I saw stars, y'all. Like, I literally got dizzy. I thought I was going to pass out right there. I sat her down wherever, okay, and then I went to literally lay down, and I was in so much pain. I took ibuprofen. I'm one of those people that, unless it's like an absolute necessary medication, I don't like taking medicine. You know, mama gonna take a Lexapro every day because she need that. But like pain medicine, if I can tolerate the pain, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it hurts, if it's tolerable, I'm gonna tolerate it. Because y'all know those pain medicines are horrible on your kidney and your liver. So if I can withstand the pain, I'm gonna do that. Run to get my bottle of ibuprofen. Expired in 2019, May of 2019. That's how often I take pain medication, okay? I've had this pain medicine for years. But anyway, Google said it was fine to still take. So I took a couple of those. Mama ordered her some Tiger Balm off of Amazon. They brought it around to my house the same day. praise God. I was out of commission for days, but not completely in vain, because while I was down, I was in my bed researching. And for all the girls who like a longer video, this is for you. So instead of doing just one case today, we'll be talking about two. I was going to talk about three, actually four, but this video literally would have gone on till who knows when. As you can tell by the title, we will be talking about the serial killers and their torture chambers. So it's like a themed episode, if you will. Now, a lot of the more notorious ones I've already covered. I think it's Charles Ng, it's NG. It's been a while since I covered the case. I forgot how you pronounce it, but him and his partner, Leonard Lake, and their death ranch has been done already. I will link that down below. We talked about H.H. Holmes and his murder mansion and how he swindled that lady about her money down to the pharmacy to fund it. H.H. Holmes is one of the most fascinating men that I have, he's been one of the most fascinating forever. The way he was so smart, and he built this massive, psychotic hotel with all these dead ends, you opening doors to brick walls, all of that, those elements in horror movies, they all came from him. The man was a mad genius. The way he kept firing his construction teams because he wanted nobody to know the whole layout and completely understand his hotel. That'll also be linked below if you are interested in hearing his story. You have not. And then Fred and Rosemary West. Mary was selling cat, okay? She was selling cat about the house. I'm not judging. What I am judging her for is selling it to her father. That was the thing. She had this incestuous brothel where she was a talent girl, and then she and her husband start taking folks' lives. It was a whole mess. That is also going to be listed below. David Parker Ray's toy box. I don't know if I've done a video on David Parker Ray or not, but if I did, I also linked that below, where he had this trailer that he had completely soundproofed and turned into a torture chamber, and one of his victims managed to get away, which is typically the downfall of most of these. And of course, Russell Tillis, we talked about in the last video before this. All of them have at least one very sick and twisted element to their situation. His was his booby-trapped backyard with those razor blades and nails poking up on the ground, just in case his victim managed to escape. How deranged is that? And then as for today's video, we will be discussing Lee Howe, an ex-firefighter who was very much sick and twisted. He reminds me a lot of Gary Heidnick. I've done a video on Gary Heidnick too. That's another dishonorable mention. He targeted mentally ill or mentally delayed individuals.
We make so many videos about not getting picked up by a kid your freshman year.
I'm dead.
I just feel like y'all have all the tools to not get picked up.
Oh, they don't want to get picked up?
You don't want to get picked up.
Why?
Number one, it's embarrassing.
To get picked up by a kid?
Their face, they're literally rubbing their face in your vagina, bouncing you up and down with his tall ass in the middle of a club. They barking.
So that's scary to get.
It's scary, and you don't know him.
Yeah.
This is your freshman year. You don't know him from a can of paint.
Yeah. That nigga, that's not his freshman year though.
And they a Q is a Q is a Q.
Yeah, they're dirty.
They're dirty. They want to be dirty. They It's not a good look, Pookie.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't even concern you if you want to cross later, or what if a video gets taken of you and now you're on TikTok, or you're
With a
in,
Q?
or in Fizz, circulating through Fizz, Twitter. It's just not a good look because you will get recorded. But I just feel like they just
That's a fear. Not to just don't go.
Literally, my friend, we went once, and one of the guys, we knew him, and he had just crossed. And
He picked somebody
He
else.
tried to pick up my friend Cece.
And what she said?
Cece was like, back up. Don't even play with me.
No.
And there was like a full hand out, and we were like,
He was like, no.
he was like,
I wouldn't want to get picked up either.
do not pick me up. Mm-mm. I don't know where y'all came from, but I know if my mother sees me on
fucking Instagram getting picked up, they would beat my ass.
It's not even cute. Like, I'm not even gonna
It's
do
not
that.
even cute.
My relatives are kind of crazy, so I'm not even gonna play with them like that.
Yeah. Getting picked. I wouldn't want to get picked up by nobody on camera. I'm sorry.
I'm good.
I don't even want to get picked up point blank period.
I don't want to get picked up. Like, don't pick me up in the club. Don't pick me up.
Don't pick me up at all.
It's so tragic, and it's homecoming season.
But
So
sometimes they like that. The girls, they be thinking that shit funny.
yeah, they think it's funny until
They
the
get
teacher
posted.
comes back and it's like,
So you got picked up
is
by
this you?
the teacher does that?
Yeah, some teachers are really like nasty, just mean. But
I'm not getting picked up by no team. I don't want to. I'm sorry. And I'm so small. They would probably already pick me up. Like.
Said to be this super withdrawn child. I guess it kind of makes sense. He probably skipped picture day. His personality between childhood and turning into a teen, it doesn't change much. He's still very much withdrawn. He's still very shy, extremely quiet, and antisocial. But tell me the ones you got left. I believe that Mari is this way because of what's going on inside of his head, and he knows it is not normal. While on the surface, Mari appears to be this super pleasant, wouldn't hurt a fly type of guy. He is not as innocent as he is perceived. Death is something that he has always been very fascinated by, and from the age of about 13, he has been fantasizing about murder almost obsessively. It is on his mind so much that he begins to act out some of these urges on small animals that he finds in the neighborhood, including one of the neighbor's dogs. After graduating high school in 1985, he joins the Army Reserves, no surprise there, and he serves for 2 years working as a medical aid and dental assistant. Once those 2 years are up, he goes on to work for a trucking company for a very short time, and after that, he volunteers at a local nursing home. All of what he does is very random. Now, at age 22, Mari realized that, I guess, his life was very random and really didn't have direction. So he decides to enroll into Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia. But just as things are kind of, on the right path of him becoming somebody, he picks up a nasty little cocaine habit, which does not pair well with being a broke college student. Desperate for money, he robs 5 different shoe stores in the North and West St. Louis areas. And this spree takes place in March of '88 over an 8-day span. He hits these 5 shoe stores, and he does so while he is at home on spring break. Now, he is easily identified when a witness gives a description of him and his car. And when the police go around there and pick him up, he pleads guilty, explaining to the court that he had only used a plastic toy gun to carry out the robberies, and it said that he was so strung out at the time, he barely remembers anything else about the crimes that he committed. I guess he was trying to get, a little sympathy, a little leniency from the courts, but I don't think they really care about that. Now, in addition to that, the judge also receives several letters of support from people who know him or think they know him, saying that his actions were not indicative of his true character, that he really was a good kid, and it was just the drugs that really had his brain clouded. The letters encouraged the courts to offer him help instead of a harsh punishment. 6 months after his court date at his sentencing, he tells the judge that he has since gone to rehab and was now clean and has really been spending his time as of late getting himself back on track to becoming a contributing member of society. Y'all, even former U.S. Representative William L. Clay is amongst the people who write letters to the judge asking for leniency. Ironically, Mr. William L. Clay says, quote, since January of 1988, Mr. Mari has conducted himself in such a manner as to pose no threat to society. I am pleading that he be given leniency and probation with the condition of voluntary service at a charitable community agency. And with all of that, child, the judge wasn't trying to hear it. He sentences Mari Travis to 15 years in prison. And this sentence comes down just 4 months shy of his 24th birthday. Jail was not the place for Mari. He was not liking it at all. 2 months into his prison sentence, he writes a letter to the judge pleading with him to reconsider the sentence and describing the conditions of the prison as, quote, excruciatingly tormenting, to say the least. It was never going to be vacation. He also says in the letter that daily and hourly he contemplates ending his own life, which child he should have. I mean, of course,
Are you in any
what
clubs?
he went on to do. And he says to the judge in this
Modeling?
letter that he mostly just spends his entire day in his
I
cell
wasn't in TW,
and cries
but I
himself
don't
to sleep
want
just
to
about
anymore.
every night. He mentions
Boring.
the
He's not
homosexual
interested.
that go on in
I don't
prison.
care.
Now he doesn't
And
say this is happening to him.
that's a problem in itself, but I just don't
He
care.
says that the living
So,
arrangements that they have are cramped and uncomfortable,
besides,
and
for the work
the food
and
is
babysit.
That's too much to
So-
do. You gotta go to the club and then you gotta do your school.
to
Mhm.
replace his
I
current
just don't want to.
15-year sentence with a 120 to 180 day sentence, because that'll be enough for him to have learned his lesson. If only it worked that way, sir. The very bottom of his letter, he says, "You, sir, are my last hope. Please give me another chance in society." And then he writes, "Please," all caps, 3 exclamation points. His sentence was not reduced. He is forced to adjust to his new environment. He gets him a little job inside the big house, working in the janitorial and the food service areas. And realizing that he was not getting out of there, Mark just decides to keep a low profile, put his head down, and do his time. It did not sound like that worked all that great for him, because he does rack up 13 conduct violations within the first couple of years of him being there. All of them were listed as minor. I'm not sure what they were, but they weren't anything too crazy. And on June 14th of 1994, after serving 5 years and 3 months, he is granted parole. He moves into a duplex where he shares a wall with a neighbor, Linda Harrison. And according to Linda, he is a great neighbor. He is quiet, he is friendly, he keeps to himself, and is never a disturbance. He was actually quite thoughtful in her eyes. Now, the basement of their unit is shared, and it's where the washer and dryer is. They have to share it. One evening, she was down there already, and he was coming down the stairs. He frightened her. He was so apologetic when that happened, and every time thereafter, he would make sure he whistled a little song as he was coming down the stairs to let her know that he was on his way down, so he never starts her again. Her son is also very fond of him. The two of them often sit outside, chatting, drinking beers together. They had a nice little bromance going on. Things were okay for Mari, but despite how terribly they had derailed his life previously, Mari falls back into heavy drug use. And again, things take a left turn. Just 4 years after paroling, he violates the terms with possession of drugs. But by 1999, he was back on the streets. And in the summer of 2000, he gets a job working as a waiter at the restaurant located inside of the Mayfair Hotel near downtown. And there, he has several conversations with a coworker, Dave, who finds the conversations to be quite odd. One, Mari mentions one day that if he ever needed to dump things that he did not want to be found, East St. Louis is a good place to do so because there are not many police officers there. And Dave is like, dump things like what? Mari says that a friend of his had a car that was stolen and was later found burning in East St. Louis. And that's how he knows. But just a few months later, bodies begin turning up there. And when they do, Mari asks Dave's girlfriend, who works as an intern for News Channel 30, if the station had done any stories on prostitutes being killed. He explained to them that he had friends who knew about bodies being dumped there, but when Dave's girlfriend goes back to her boss at the station and inquires about this, he has no knowledge of it whatsoever. He had not heard of that at all. And at that point, it was kind of just brushed under the rug, like Mari just didn't know what he was talking about. July 31st of 2000, the body of 61-year-old Mary Shields is found in East St. Louis, and David and his girlfriend truly wonder whether or not this is a coincidence that a body has not been found in East St. Louis, or if it is not a coincidence. Maybe Mari was right about it being a spot where you could dump things that you didn't want to be found, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he had dumped Mary there, right? It's a conversation, but there's not really enough to say definitively or to think that he had been responsible responsible for this, right? Little do they know, their inkling was right. Mari Travis has settled into a house at 1001 Ford Drive where he has completely transformed the basement into a sex dungeon slash movie studio. When he is not down to the restaurant,
So you don't want no fresh air while I take my break?
he is strolling the stroll and
Let me turn off the
picking up
light.
sex workers to take back to his
Okay.
house where he does crack with them and then
Can I
locks
learn your
them
bed?
inside of
Yeah.
the basement where he then performs all kinds of sick acts on them while he tapes it. He tortures them both mentally and physically.
Everybody be going on my bed.
Like,
I just sit in your bed while you go, man.
he would dress them up in like these white dresses and these blacked out sunglasses and has them dancing around. It was very, very strange. This is a still shot from one of the videos showing how he would have them bound to that pole in the basement. It was very, very sick. Fortunately though, 4 months after Mary is found, Mari again violates the terms of his parole and is locked up again. He spends just a few months in jail, locked up from November 29th, 2000 until March 19th of 2001. So not long at all. And as soon as he is released, he is right back at it. Just under 2 weeks of him being out and free, the remains of Alyssa Greenwade are found in Washington Park. And just 3 days after that, another woman is found slain and discarded in East St. Louis. About a month and 10 days go by before another gruesome discovery is made. On May 15th of 2001, the remains of Teresa Wilson are found. And just a week after that, Betty James is also found, and there are tire marks on her leg. Police keep photos of this in evidence, hoping that one day they would be helpful in identifying who the person was that had done this to her. The footage from Mari Travis's case is so disturbing, so stomach-turning, that the officers who have seen it were all later ordered to receive psychiatric treatment. Even just the dialogue is very haunting, very disturbing. I'm about to insert a bit of it for you to listen to. I did find it a bit hard to listen to, so if you don't want to hear it, I say, fast forward about a minute if you want to spare yourself. Now, in the first video, he can be heard saying, "This is the first kill, number 1. First kill was 19 years old. Name, I don't know. I don't give a fuck. First kill was nice."
This is first kill, number 1. First kill was 19 years old. Name, I don't know. First kill was nice.
Now, the next portion I'm about to play comes from the 2 aforementioned victims.
Bro, is this
Teresa
lady
Wilson
dumb,
and
bro?
Betty
I don't
James.
do full. Send her back there.
Clear.
I don't like this. Why people do this? This girl sends me a deposit for the sale, and she gonna put full boho for the sale.
What was it so for?
It's for thigh length boho, but not for no boob, not for no full boho. I have to buy the boho here. Yeah, I don't like when people do that. I should have figured.
Where Teresa had been found the month before, and 1 month after her, Yvonne Cruz is found in East St. Louis.
It's like people, they be doing stuff like that. Oh, just do it, cause I'm paying you. Give me full boho, cause I'm paying you. But I gotta buy that hair.
Sometimes you kind of gotta act, especially with that specific hair. Boho
Yeah,
hair.
like you can't just say.
You can't just go buy that
Yeah,
shit.
send her back her deposit. Like I'm like, send her
For
back
the
her.
remainder of 2001, no more discoveries are made, but Mari has remained active. January 30th of 2002, a woman's remains are found in a wooded area of St. Louis. This
Stuff
woman
like that be
had-
getting. You know what I'm trying to say. Like when people, it's like, oh well, just do like instead of asking if I do full boho, you gonna put the note as full boho for your deposit. That don't make sense.
Yeah.
Days after this person.
Especially if it's not listed on your page as full.
Yeah, like send her back her money back, please.
But police believe this to also be the work of the same person. No more discoveries are made from the end of March throughout May. Now, Mari is enjoying his spree almost as much as he is enjoying it being talked about in the media. During these couple of months where no discoveries are being made and it's not being discussed in the media and things have quieted write it down while he
And then she didn't even
knows
book
that
it
he still
online
has victims out
either.
there
Like, she didn't book her appointment online.
She just called.
She just, yeah. And that's why I don't like about some people, like, because they've been going to you for a while, they think it's just, you're just gonna text them and say, like, if I'm not available on the 30th and you just sent your deposit, what do I do now? Because I'm not available on the 30th. I'm booked. Yeah, but if you would want to, it's like stuff like that annoys me when they're like, oh, where do I send a deposit? It's on the booking site. Like, why do you have to confirm with me where to send it?
When I have
Why would I put a
site.
fake? Why would I put a number that wasn't? Why would I put somebody like a number that wasn't good up there for deposits? You get me?
Mhm.
Yeah. But those really be sometimes people do that, they be difficult clients. So I'm just like, here's your money.
Here you go. Take it back.
Yeah.
Fresh out of his sleep, very hostile towards
She didn't even ask.
demanding them to let him know
See,
ASAP why
she didn't. So the
they're
first one, she never sent me a deposit, so I canceled the appointment.
nothing like the nice.
Then she sends for small boho. She didn't even ask if she could do small boho.
Visibly upset.
She don't even know the price for the small boho. For the full.
Yeah.
He is still, pretending and carrying on his act that he does not know why they are there at his doorstep. And they tell him at that point that the person that made the letter had done so from his computer. And so that is why they're there. At this point, he invites the men to have a conversation. And for an hour and a half, he attempts to keep control of the conversation. He changes the subject often when they get to asking questions. Now, during their little back and forth and conversation, the search warrant for his house comes through, and they let him know that they now have a search warrant for the premises. They also informed him that a forensics team is on the way to look for trace evidence inside of the home, if there is any. And child, he does not take the news lightly. He starts cursing. He becomes even more angry than he was when he opened up the front door. At that point, they know that they'll be finding something, just judging by his reaction alone. And they were definitely right. Down in the basement, on the floor, on the walls, underneath the carpet, and on the bottom side of the rug, they find blood stains. And this is blood belonging to 6 different individuals. Upstairs, while the team is conducting their search in the basement, detectives present Maury with a folder that has several pictures of the women they believe to be his victims. And without any context, they ask him if he's familiar with any of the women. He looks through them, he's like, yeah, no, I've never seen any of these
And I
women
gave her a discount, so how would she think I'm finna be doing small boho for $230 Starland? For $230.
The conversation has shifted to something else.
Styling.
He goes
For full
the
boho.
pictures of those dead girls again. Joe,
Like what hair? Wait, with that situation, what hair would you use? Like what length of boho?
Oh, I usually use short because it don't really matter
At that point,
what length you. I use the short one because the long boho it gets too tangled. So that's why I use. Let me go see this one.
He gets a little attitude. He says, you know where I'm taking you. This is what you're here for. This is what you've been asking for. Now, just to be short and clear, they ask him, like, are you telling us you're taking us to another victim? And he says, yes, she's in East St. Louis. The detectives piled up in the car. They had Travis in the back seat. They were driving per his directions. And just as they near the bridge, Maury tells them, I've changed my mind. Just take me to jail. Which completely catches them off guard. There's a little bit of back and forth between he and the detectives. They're trying to change his mind. And he no longer wants to go to the location. He's like, no, just take me to jail. I'd rather just go straight to jail